Today, Pixel Worlds dropped a huge safety update, and this one actually changes a lot more than it might seem at first. Fish changed, mining gemstones changed, Nether Crystals changed, and if you make profit in Pixel Worlds, you definitely need to know what this means. And before we get into it, remember we're doing a 3-letter world giveaway every 100 subscribers, and we're getting close to the next winner. To enter, all you need to do is like the video, subscribe, and comment your username down below. Now, this update started with a Discord announcement from the developers saying the game was going into maintenance for a small update related to anti-botting. After maintenance ended, they posted the full safety update, and there are a few really important changes here. The first major change is that the game now has several bot detection and auto-ban features. That is probably the biggest part of this whole update. The developers are clearly trying to crack down harder on automation and suspicious farming behavior. And that matters because bots affect the entire economy. They affect supply, they affect prices, and they affect how much normal players can actually profit. Now here is where it gets even more interesting. According to the Discord post, subject accounts can now only play 10 Netherworlds, 10 mines, and fish 10 times per day. The important wording there is subject accounts. So from how this is written, it sounds like these limits are aimed at accounts that the system flags or suspects, not necessarily every player in the game. That is a very important detail. If that is how it works, then this is not just a general nerf. It is specifically meant to slow down accounts that look suspicious. And if that works properly, that could be huge for the economy. Because think about it. If bot-style accounts can no longer spam Netherworld, spam mines, or fish all day long, then the supply of certain items could start dropping. And when supply drops, prices can change. That is why this update matters, even if you're not botting. It can still affect profit methods for everyone. Now, the next big change is probably the one most players are going to notice immediately. Nether Crystals, fish, and mining gemstones are now untradeable. That is a massive change, because those are all items connected to popular grind methods. If they are now untradeable, that means you cannot just farm them and move them around the same way as before. That changes how people profit from fishing. It changes how people profit from mining. And it changes how people think about Netherworld too. This does not mean those methods are useless now, but it does mean the direct profit side may feel very different, especially for players who are relying on trading those specific items. And that is probably one of the clearest anti-botting moves in the whole update. Because if bots were heavily farming fish, mining gemstones, or nether crystals to flood the market, making those items untradeable would directly cut off a lot of that abuse. So even though this may feel harsh at first, you can clearly see the logic behind it. Another big change is that the red portal now has a level requirement of level 20. That also makes sense from an anti-botting perspective. If a bot can just create or use low-level accounts to access certain content too easily, then adding a level requirement makes that harder. It puts an extra barrier in place and makes it more annoying to abuse the system. For real players, this mostly matters if you're using a newer account. But for the overall health of the game, it is pretty obvious why they did it. Now there's also one change here that is actually more positive for normal players. Jet race entrance fees have been lowered, and XP gains have been buffed. That is a nice change, because while some parts of this update are restrictive, this part actually gives players another reason to play Jet Race. If it now costs less to enter and gives better XP, then that could become a more appealing method for leveling, especially now that other parts of the game are getting tighter because of anti-botting rules. So this update is not just nerfs. It is also pushing players toward different activities. There are also two smaller fixes in the update. The whale familiar glitch has been fixed, and they also fixed disappearing daily bonus items level requirement icon. Those are not the headline changes, but they are still part of the patch and worth knowing. So what does all of this mean overall? To me, this update is the developers saying they're finally taking anti-botting more seriously. They added detection. They added auto bans. They limited certain flagged accounts. They put a level requirement on the red portal. And they made some heavily farmed items untradeable. That is a major shift. In the short term, some players are probably going to be frustrated, especially if they made profit from methods tied closely to fish, gemstones, or nether crystals. But in the bigger picture, if this actually reduces bots and cuts down abuse, then the game economy could become healthier over time. And that is the real question now. Does this make the game better for real players? Because if bots become weaker, then real grinding becomes more valuable again. And if real grinding becomes more valuable again, then profit methods across the game could start feeling more meaningful. So this is definitely one of the most important recent updates in Pixel Worlds, even if it was called a small update at first. It changes how some major grind systems work, and it shows that the developers are willing to make stronger moves against botting. Let me know what you think.